I went down to St. James's Infirmary to have my fortune told. I went down to St. James's Infirmary till I was dead. He would decide policy. He would decide what we would do, what we would think, how we would feel. The money. It was the lever. It was the illusion, the idea invented by him. Yes, to save the world. For him, to control the world. He and his band. See? This place, this island, it's in the centre. It's a transit house. People are exchanged for prisoners and transported to the island down the stream. That's how the transformation's done. The brainwashing. The adoption of the ideas of the elite. They're done in this head, this skull, as if a map of it, the transit, this process, was imprinted on the front of the brain. You see? Look at the diagram. You have to use your imagination. They do. They've worked it out. It's spiritual. The whole thing is about transferring the mind into their way of thinking and being a puppet on a string. The question is, for good or evil? Well, what do you think? Well, I think that that's their advertisement. Yeah, and it works. You see, it happened on the day we were shooting the film. I have to remember back and explain it. The diary. I explained to you the notes in the beginning, in the prelude. The ticking clock, the tick-tock, 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 the time bomb waiting to go off, the world, boom. And yet I'm trying to warn you, we were shooting the film. That's what was happening. The advertisement. It was the point of the enterprise. The point at the top of the tip of the triangle, the ultimate enterprise. It was to broadcast the fraud all over the world, and boom! I staggered over to the fountain. Yes. To the island. The centre. The island. Yes, I could hear them. There they were coming. That's it. They were all arriving, entering in, ushering in their laws, their barbed wire. I crawled to the fountain. My mind and throat were on fire. Choking. My voice has never recovered. It's fragmented and broken. And at least it's not locked in cement in their pattern, their blueprint. And I'm mouthing like a parrot their ideas and going to 9 to 5 every day, a mechanical idiot, stripped over a desk, conveying houses, allotments, a money dispensary, built a house over the harbour, swimming pool, girls in bikinis. Twin sisters are the best. The reason? Well, I had Suzanne and Emily. They were twins. One was frigid. Yeah, I have to say it. Well, how else do you describe it? She wouldn't come across after. There you are. There they're coming. The army's coming up the front with the barbed wire. Money. Up to the pool. Yeah, sitting there with her. I gave her all my money. Millions. Okay. You know, I'm a good sport, but let's not fool ourselves. I gave her all my money. And okay, she gave me herself. Meat market? Yeah, I suppose it was a meat market. They were all my friends, and they were in. They were up for it, the girls, and we wanted it. You got what you want, she said. Okay. And then she stopped when she got the money, and right, I leapfrogged over, and I chose a twin. She had a twin sister, Suzanne. Yeah, as I told you, I couldn't speak. She cured me. She cut my throat from within. You ask what that means? Well, it was a surgical instrument, a psychic surgeon, a process. She was a fortune teller, and as we made love, she made love to me from behind, and okay, I admit it, she masturbated me from the back. Yeah, she was leaning over my shoulders and giggling and grinning, and long dangling brown hair down around her shoulders, and she smiled. I saw the singing silver of her eyes, and the gleaming white pilot light of my... lightning went beaming right through my brain as my imagination exploded. I thought I felt her slipper knife blade across the entrails and vocal cords of my front, but it was my stem cells. She was enticing, out, tickling, I may say. The images out from the stem in a psychic operation. She was a saviour. This is what, in the studio, psychic surgery, yes, this Supergirl woman did. Save me. I saw the image of Indians, their medicine, rowing, taking me to the stream, the transit, cross, transvesting to a better way of life, and I expiated this brainwashing in the studio. Utensils, instruments, out, fire, and this is how it happens, step by step, in this bedroom, sweetbread, ancestral, previous era's line, love. Then I heard the words echo around the chamber in the clock tower as I stood searching where he had been. You attend the confessional box day by day to atone for your sins. Yes, you're tormented by the noise of the planes, the war, the murder, wholesale, area outside, systematic. One by one they pick them off. The snipers. Except you do nothing. Wash the blood from your hands in the fountain, the oracle, day by day. Like Lady Macbeth, you sit there washing the palms of your hands out, the nails, day by day. Washing, over and over. Yes, the fountain area, the blade in the window turns inward. The window and the water flows and you wash and pure. The window. In the window I saw 3 photographs and slides, many others, as I could see the mantle turn. The mantelpiece was turning inside like a unconnected loose valve, as if in the area of this statue, this funeral pyre, this steeple, this clock, this huge brick clock face, as if inside an area was detached around the funeral pyre area, which was a small funeral place, a parlour of levels and flowers. Yes, and inside I could see the flowers, and a tape was turning. There it was, and it was going round and round, and it was in a head, a miniature. A sculpture of it had been made like a small model of him, and in it was the head's tape going round and round like a skull of hollow eyes. Out of it came a light, and it projected up onto the wall, and there, high, going up through the top of the clock tower, out into the sky, for there was an opening at the top of this pyramid, was a picture. It was projected up into the sky in the thunder and the darkness, and when there was light you could see it. It was a film, and it said SOS. That was it. Of course. Inside the parlour flowers grew yellow and bloomed. I could see them. And at the window the photographs and slides went round and turned as if on a piston, a steeple, as if it had been arranged by an architect so that it turned inside, and it rigged, it turned everything, it turned the wheels, it turned the whole apparatus inside in the dark, inside the funeral pyre or clock tower, whatever you want to call it. That's right, with the picture started at the top outside, and when it turned a beep, beep, blip, blip, a light, a neon light on the sign at the top outside glowed on the picture that had been placed there, and there was a note in the diary. I found it under a candlelight. I opened it. There was an entry, picture at top. It had written in code, P-A-T, Magdalene. I painted it myself inside all these years, like the Count of Monte Cristo and Dr. Manette. I laboured inside, mending and as if making shoes on hundreds and thousands of years. The rain came outside, I heard it in the walls, centuries and centuries, one after the other, 1,000, 3,000 years in this pyramid. I was listening. The light reflecting, the neon light, and the SOS picture projected right up into the skies, for this planted foundation of this clock tower was built by them before the end of the 3 wars, the world wars. And I'd taken refuge in here, away from them, the money, the speculators, the bets. They collapsed it and wrecked everything. Smashed it, smashed all the genuine attempts to be a government and project the people's opportunities up into self-realisation and self-empowerment, and it had been wrecked and trashed and straitjacketed by governments that had been flat measurements right across the board, a wasteland of desolation of the world from one corner to the other. Had been flattened out and dispossessed of creativity, and people had just sewn and broken backs, and I was a doctor, a GP. I took refuge the last days when I was bending over my back Yes. Party broke in at one time and one occasion. You can hear it now. The alarms went off and I'd rigged them up. And all the bells started tolling in this cathedral, this chapel, this last days on earth of this square, this picture. The neon sign went outside and the tolls of the bells and the messages projected up SOS. I'd learned to dat, dosh and Morse and key in words. I'd invented a computer and I could sit at my desk on the ground floor in the dark inside and with a candle alight and click out messages and insert them in, and the stream, I'd turn the small wheel on the saw at the right hand side and project up the words and they'd stream out and send messages and I was hoping they'd be seen by the angels in the galaxy. Save this planet, this murdered planet, this wreck, this floating corpse in the galaxy that was dying and had been opened like this, and the patient, because witness these deaths of this terrible wholesale daily executions and excuses for little children just being executed in front of my eyes on television every day, and you could hear the response like a whisper. Hark! Hark! Nothing was done. Apparently, the children are expendable. They know nothing. They're only young. They smile. I have a picture here. I kept one. It was of a little girl and a little boy, and they were smiling innocently. They'd come into the world and everything was all gleam and they had a future, and as I looked, I saw and heard the tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. I saw another portrait. A portrait. Someone had drawn these portraits and placed them around halfway up the steeple inside where I laboured and lived in the dark, and occasionally a light would come on and I saw a portrait of a general. I'd made it unconsciously with my own hand, I was sure, and I'd had amnesia and forgotten, or had deliberately, in denial, suppressed it, and it was me. It was I, a general. I could see an eye. I looked around quickly. I moved my head, flickered my eyes, and there was a pilot. There was one, and a picture drawing of a crashed plane, and children! There they were. They'd been implanted in my eyes, the mote in my eye, and I jagged it into the middle of my forehead with this spike. Blood poured out, and I knew that I'd filmed it in my subconscious and kept it forever in a cylinder in my mind and projected it every night up out and seen the murders that I'd committed and died. I was dead. Not us and Dr. Manette. I thought, Mother, Mother Church, help me, I'm crippled, going. And I heard her voice. She said, the Mother Church, the nun, the Mother Superior, Audrey, she appeared before me. I heard her whisper and say with a smile, I can't help you. You made the choice. 3,000 years it'll take you, in that condition, to be with a staff and live in this place. You can't go out, no. Oh, yes, there's sunshine outside. Yes, there's dancing little boys and girls and children, and they're all playing, and they're with their fathers and mothers and husbands and wives, and horses are dancing and birds are twittering, and yes, there's an enchanted garden outside. It's locked, and your voice is choked and forever, and if you ever get as far as putting your head outside a window, seeing a glimpse of sunlight and poking your head outside that X-ray area that photographed, it will slide and but it won't die there. She looked at me intently. Yeah, we'll glue it back on. Your head. Look up, you see that picture of... Yeah, that's Aunt Trinette, Archbishop. Yes, she was a young woman who was innocent. A little girlish, really, girl inside. That's not a crime. Not in the angel's court, in any case. Maybe in your mind. Oh, yes, we gave her finery and dresses. Oh, she'd done sacrifices in earlier lives. She was to be given convenience. Yes, in this life, but you, yes, with your free will, you, Archbishop, massacred. And there's the pilots and the generals. Oh, carry on, old boy. She walked away and she turned and said, carry on, Bedlam. Look up at the sign. You created it. You wrote it. There it is. B-E-D-L-A-M. Asylum. I killed her, he said. A short circuit of the flash power went round the rim of the lip of the seal, as you can see up there, the rubber at the valve. Yes, it rubbers around the inside of the clock tower, the steeple. I threw her from there. Yeah, it was a veranda once, in a chapel, in a church, in a cathedral, yeah. That's right, Gothic church that the French built. I threw her from there in the chamber. Nice, wasn't I? But then I realised I was trapped in here with her body. Her body. Yes. Emily's. Davina's. Emily's. Davina's. The electric points you see around the side of the inside of the apparatus, the clock, the organ. Yeah. They stopped. It's organic in here, in the dark especially. But there, I noticed at the cortex area at the inside of the skull, I chiselled out from inside. You see, I began to imagine myself as locked in inside my head. So I started chiselling in the dark and sculpting as I imagined it, as I imagined levels and every bit of area, a membrane inside a head, a brain, and I started to chisel it and make representations inside this pyre in which I was imprisoned. You can see them now in the half semi-light, the dim areas there. I moulded and I made a little what I call music box. It orchestrates music. I could turn it on and off and I'd hear music. You may not, but I can hear it in the other dimension. Yeah, look, I've sculptured a large ear there. It was meant to be a representation, and there, sitting in the middle in the area, was the orchestra. I've made those little miniatures, those men and women. You see, there's been no one in here for centuries, for years, and I've done it all myself. Yeah, I've sculptured away and made textures and patterns and tapestries on the walls, like artistic Dr. Manette. You see, there's a certificate over there. I made that too. I built it up, and I've had thousands of years to do this, and I've made those imprints, that picture of the tree and the oak tree, and look, there's a picture I drew, a portrait, yeah, of Louise. And there, all of them, they're my angels. I've made them inside here, you see? Look, a little poem here, quick, I'll show you, I'll read it to you. I watch the spiritual anarchist as he brings me into being. The door opens, widens, with his touch upon the cover. You see what I did with Louise and Emily? I hid them in the annex, and every night at midnight I willed them to open. Little doors down there, doors I'd chiselled in this huge funeral pyre, this pyramid. I chiselled out of the side of the rock. It projected like a finger outside, because once I'd been outside and I'd come in when it had been unlocked, and now it's locked forever. But there at midnight I'd lie on my wrought iron bed as if in the hospital in the Victorian era, and I'd project my thoughts, my minds over to the side and in the left wing as if on a stage in a theatre, an opera. And lo and behold, there the door would open and there would be Louise. Yes, other days it was Vera. Other days it was Audrey. Yes. And that's what started to happen. So I drew their portraits and I put them in an array around halfway up where the balcony was. That's right. And I chiselled this out and fashioned this as the left area of the brain, which I call the feminine, and which is a complete opposite from every science from which I'd run. That's how it had started. I knew I was the only one who'd had a left side feminine brain. All of the science books, the texts propagated this idea of a matrix in the right hand side of the brain, but it wasn't with me, it was the left, it was completely in reverse. I knew this and they didn't, and they went on about this matrix, which for me was the patrix. The right-hand side of the brain was the masculine, and it was logic. It was the trained, the law, the area, the conditioning, but the left was full of, brimming over with a fountain of intuition. And that's what I discovered, and that's why I went into this refuge in here at first, and then the war. Yes, what I believed was their right-hand sides of their brains had created all these murders. They worked it all out, yes, with reason. That's right, if I do this, if I advance the army up this way and that, and we shoot everybody here, we'll shoot everybody in the middle, and it'll be the children. And that's exactly what happened. The armies no longer fought. There was no longer sectioning off of regular army and troops who'd volunteered and were quite happy to fight and very masculine calling and shoot at each other and shoot each other down and then count up the ones corpses and declare the winner on numbers. That was legitimate. That was legitimate. That was theatre. That was how Canada was won and lost by General Wolfe and the others. But now it was bombing children, and you added up a quota, and if you reached your quota, you declared, it's over, I'm the winner, I've won the war. But after centuries and centuries of this, after 2014, I became aware that there were hardly any of us at all. Yes, we'd taken refuge. But I was happy because I had my angels. There was no one outside at all. I'd once chiselled from inside. I worked as a sculptor inside over the centuries, and I chiselled out different versions of the statue in which I lived. This funeral pyre once, it was a finger pointing straight up like a chiselled pyramid. I chiselled it from inside, so it would be outside like that. Of course, I never saw it from outside, but I could guess, I could imagine, I could work from inside and chisel it out, and it was like a unicorn, a skull mountain. I chiselled around from the sides and made the head like a skull mountain. But then, one century, I decided to change it altogether. I was like Rip Van Winkle, and I changed it. Yes, I changed it at times. I made it once into the Statue of Liberty. Her head. The whole world could see it, but I knew outside there was no one. The world had... Well, the world had decapitated itself. I knew that. It had decapitated its head in a self. De-incorporation. I could sense there were just a few blades of grass outside.